Hey guys, I had a little bit of technical difficulties. It's Dr. Tamika Peds. OMG, you wouldn't believe what happened. Yes, drop the phone. That's what I get in the snow. See, nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect, but it's still working because I got that good case, that good waterproof case. Right. So I'm gonna wait for people to kind of come in and populate my audience for Facebook here. Sorry, Facebook, why do you do me so dirty sometimes? I wasn't even sliding on the ice or nothing like that. At least I thought I wasn't. Sometimes I try to glide a little here and there, but still. Okay, my connection is weak, so I don't know what's going on. I got full blast. I always do. It could be because of the snow and the weather, guys. I'm trying to do this broadcast, and I think because of the snow, it's affecting the connection with my Facebook connectivity. So, I just want to kind of go through some quick things because I want you guys to really get these pearls. It's really, really important for child safety for your child, especially for the wintertime. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. Hopefully it can record what it can so you guys can get the important tidbits, okay? And then you guys can catch the replay. I know it says it's building my audience. If you guys come in while I'm talking, feel free to share and just follow. And if you're not able to finish, but try to stay on if you can. But if you're not, then definitely watch the replay. So what we're going to do now is, you guys know who I am. I am your favorite board certified pediatrician and Dr. Mom, Dr. Tamika Peds. Yes, that is me. What do? I help moms like you and me keep your children happy and healthy all naturally. And this is my weekly tip for your child for safety week. Okay, I give tips every week, or I try to do some type of live to kind of keep you guys up to date with your family for child safety. So this is your weekly tip, okay? What we're going to talk about, of course, because of the snow, is we're going to talk about winter safety tips. And why is that important? Because the winter time, there's important things you have to worry about. Most people think it's fun to be out in the snow and to go play and have fun, but there are some risks that come with it in the wintertime, especially with your children. So you really got to be careful and listen to these extra tidbits. So we're going to break it down into three things. Once you guys join on, feel free to let me know that you're in the house. Drop a little comment. Just to recap, I'm sorry for the connection difficulty earlier. I think because of the snow out here, we're out in the Triad, we're having a little bit of some issues. Everyone down here in the South isn't very used to all this snow, so everybody's trying to get things situated here. So being a Michigander, I am totally used to it, and I love the snow. What do you do? But I do love the warmth too, which is why, hence, I am in North Carolina. And look at this. It still follows me. So, all right. So what we're going to talk about is winter safety tips. Now, we're going to split it up into three categories. The first category is going to be outdoors and play. Then we're going to talk about in the car. The next thing we're going to talk about is in the home. These are key tips that we need to kind of discuss, especially now because it is winter season and we do have snowfall, right? We do. Look at me. I'm sitting in this beautiful winter wonderland. So yes, we have snowfall. Ladies and gentlemen, moms and dads, parents, the snow is here. Snowmageddon is what they call it. It is here, okay, today officially. It looks like it's at least about 4 to 6 inches out here. I'm not sure, but it's pretty deep. So winter safety tips. When you go outdoors with your kids and you want to play and you want to build that snowman and you want to go sledding, keep in mind falls and slips. Falls and slips and icy patches and black ice is one of the number one reasons people go to the emergency department, especially with children when they're out playing. They can fall on their arm. You want to make sure that they're salt down, that they have good grip shoes and boots to keep themselves, like as far as a grip in the snow when they're out playing. That is really important. So you definitely want to make sure that you kind of do like fall and slip protection around your home. And even when you're going into a store, you assume that they kind of clean up the aisles and that there's no wet spots, but you can never be too sure. So always look out for puddles, especially now in the winter time when you have like all the snow and the wetness and everything else. You want to make sure definitely that there's no puddles, that you're going to slip and slide on some kind of pavement, and no icy patches, especially at night when there's black ice. So falls and slips are very important. So make sure you keep an eye as you're walking, especially now. Now, the second thing I want to talk to you guys about, I know it's snow time. So what do your kids want to do when they want to get out in the snow? They want to go sledding. Yes, Mom. Yes, let's go sledding, right? Sledding. Okay, here's a case. I saw a 13-year-old, probably about a year ago, came into the ER. He was sledding with his friends, ended up losing control and hit a tree. He actually came in and he ended up having a ruptured spleen. We had to transfer him to an outside hospital. His hemoglobin was dropping. It was serious business. All this from a sledding accident? That's a little crazy if you ask me. So, I mean, you want to have fun with your kids. Sledding is one of the big things that you want to do. But did you know that more than 20,000 ER visits each year are from sledding accidents in the wintertime, especially in those states where winter is very prevalent? That's very important. So you want to talk about safety while you're on the sled, right? So safety, you always want to do feet first. And I know it's going to look weird, but your children should be wearing a helmet, because if they lose control, God forbid, but if they lose control, they have some protection of their head. And they always want to do feet first. Feet first is very important. You don't want to slide down head first or try to do any weird tricks. You don't need any of that, because the whole purpose is to enjoy the moment of sledding, not to try to do tricks and be the one that can do the best little trick on the sled there is, okay? You always want to have a buddy system. If you have teenagers that go out and they're going sledding in the neighborhood, make sure that they have a buddy with them. So that way that buddy will be able to kind of keep up with them if there's like a ton of other kids that are out there sledding as well. And you want to make sure it's very cold. So even though you send your children out to prevent frostbite and keep them bundled up with a hat, with a scarf, double and triple layers sometimes, you want to make sure that they come in periodically just to get warm, because even 10 minutes in like below 0-degree weather can cause frostbite, like something even less than that, 5 minutes or less. So you definitely want to make sure that you have the children come in periodically, warm up with some hot cocoa, some tea, sit by the fire, make sure they're just staying warm. That's really, really important. Now, the next topic we're going to talk about is in the car. In the car. Now, it's wintertime, so of course you got your little baby and you have your little one. You're putting them in the car seat. You want to make sure they have the bulkiest coat on and that they're strapped in. But I don't know if you guys are aware, when you put your child into a car seat, if it's very, very bulky, it actually puts them at more risk to have some type of injury if you guys were to get in an accident. So what we do for our daughter, I know it sounds a little crazy, but I'm going to explain the situation to you. What you do is you take a blanket and you can dress your child up in the coat, and then once you get to the car, have a separate blanket in the car, wrap the blanket around her as you take the coat off, and you strap her in appropriately in the 5-point harness. And the reason I say that, and then you put the blanket back over her, because what happens when you get into a car accident, that coat that she is wearing is going to compress. And when I say compress, it will compress. Compress means it's going to get flat from the accident because of just that sheer force. So what's going to happen is there's going to be a gap between your child and that car seat. And so that's going to like increase them at risk for injuries and such if they were involved in the car accident. So you definitely want to make sure they stay warm, but you do not want to put them in the car seat bulky and they're not strapped down efficiently. Just take a blanket, take the coat off, get that blanket, make sure it's a heavy duty blanket. They can wear a hat now, but definitely make sure that they're strapped in very good, okay? The next thing in the car you worry about is, we're going to get into this going into the house, carbon monoxide poisoning, okay? Okay, so I know you want to just have that car heated up in the garage. It's all nice going to work, and, hubby tries to do a nice act and you're like, oh, my car is warm. I'm about to get in the car. It's warm. But you got to keep in mind, do not leave your car engine running with the garage door closed, because what are we worried about? Carbon monoxide. I don't know if you guys know what carbon monoxide is, but carbon monoxide is a big deal. It's very important. Carbon monoxide is basically an odorless, and it's a colorless gas that if it's present in the air in high concentrations, it can actually be very deadly. Now, hey, Dr. Berry, how are you doing? Thanks for joining in. You see, I'm out here. I'm freezing. We're going to have to get through this broadcast quick because it is a little cold, but I'm giving some tips just to recap on winter safety with your children. So I've already talked about, to recap, Dr. Berry, I talked about basically outdoors with sledding injuries and falls and slips, and now we're talking about in the car and making sure that your child is not strapped down in a bulky coat in the car, because it will compress and it'll put them at further risk for injury. So you want to take them out that bulky coat, and you want to strap them down properly in that 5-point harness and have like a thick heavy duty blanket on top of them, and then just put the coat back on them when it's time to get out the car. So we're talking about that. And the other thing we're talking about is never leaving your car running in a closed garage because of the risk for carbon monoxide. I was given some tips on carbon monoxide, saying that it is an odorless, colorless gas, and a lot of people are not familiar because you can't smell it and you can't see it. So it's kind of like, oxygen, but it's not the good oxygen. It's not what you want to really take in and inhale and breathe. But what happens if it's present in the air in high concentrations, it can actually be very deadly. Now, this goes into winter safety into the home, which is like under my third category, because deadly meaning you cannot see this gas, you cannot taste it, you cannot smell it. Now, some of the side effects that happens is it's like flu-like symptoms, okay? So you can feel fatigued, you can have headaches, you can get dizzy, all of those things. You can get lethargic. All of these are carbon monoxide symptoms that you can realize. And sometimes you may think you have like a little bit of a cold. But if the key is if everyone in your house, if you have a family, is feeling the same way around the same time, that's a little bit weird, especially if you're not having fevers, you're not having runny nose or congestion. You want to kind of think, okay, what's going on? And you look at things in your home. So one thing you want to look at is, okay, make sure you don't leave a gas appliance running, of course. So you want to make sure there's ventilation within the areas to reduce the amount of carbon monoxide exposure. Definitely not leaving any gas like in the car running and the door, the garage to the door is closed. That's really important. So you definitely, if you have a fireplace, you want to make sure there's vents that's open. You want to double check too, because you have young kids. You want to make sure that that screen that's over that fireplace is not hot, and that you have a barrier around that fireplace, because your kids can actually go up to the fireplace and you don't want them to get burned. That's important. You don't want them to kind of reach for the fire and touch that screen, and it's hot, and it takes so long for those screens to cool down, okay? It takes a long time for those screens to cool down. So you definitely want to make sure that there's proper and adequate safety around the fireplace if you're going to be burning that this winter season, and make sure there's ventilation. You want to make sure too that you have a fire safety plan. I know we talk about it all the time. Oh, my house is not going to catch on fire. Everything's going to be fine. But if you have children, or even if it's just you and your spouse, you guys need to have a plan of what to do when the house is on fire. And you need to go through it. You need to say, okay, this is where we're going to meet up. If we're not able to meet up, this is where we need to go. Have an instruction plan, post it up on the refrigerator, post it up in your child's room, make it fun, make a diagram, go through it every 2 weeks so that they know if anything was to happen, this is what they need to do in case of a fire. Now, the other thing we talked about was carbon monoxide. So one way, too, you can check your home for carbon monoxide is to have a carbon monoxide detector. Now, that's really important. They're just like fire detectors that you use for fires, but they have even now some that are combination fire and carbon monoxide. But you want to have a carbon monoxide detector in your home, and you want one on every level of your home, and especially near sleeping areas. And what that's going to do is that's going to sense this odorless and this gas that you're not going to be able to sense, and it will go off if there is high enough levels of carbon monoxide that could be toxic to you and your family. So that's really important. So you definitely want to have a carbon monoxide detector. Okay, so I went over a little bit of some tips. I'm out here in the cold. I'm getting a little cold, so I think I'm gonna have to go in and get me some cocoa and sit by the fireplace myself. But keep in mind, I do have adequate ventilation, and I do have a carbon monoxide detector in the home. Definitely. Okay, so we talked about winter safety tips. I'm going to recap and reset again. So we talked about outdoors and play. We talked about falls and slip prevention. We talked about sledding, making sure you have a buddy system, making sure you have someone there, like a helmet, and you're going feet first, and you're not trying to do tricks and things on the sled. That's really important. We talked about winter safety tips in the car. We talked about avoiding bulky coats with your children if you're strapping them in to the car seat, because you want to make sure that they have enough room and enough space when they're strapped down in that 5-point harness. Okay. We've also talked about never leaving the car running in the garage for risk of carbon monoxide poisoning. That's really important, and how that ties into winter safety in the home, making sure you have a carbon monoxide detector detector in the house and in areas where you're sleeping because of it being so toxic and you can't smell it and you can't see it. So we've also talked about also as well ventilation in the home, making sure if you have appliances or, oh, you see that snow? Oh yeah, oh yeah, you see it? All right, I'm still looking glamorous even amidst all the snowfall. Okay. All right, I'm just teasing. I'm about to get in though. So we also talked about making sure there's proper ventilation, and that's important. Proper ventilation is important, especially if you have gas fireplaces or even, log fireplaces, all that, to make sure that those fumes are getting out of the house and they're not going to be toxic. So I hope you guys enjoy this snowmageddon, and look at my winter wonderland here. 4 to 6 inches. Oh my gosh, this is totally unheard of, especially here. So, all the bread and all the milk was gone off the shelves yesterday. All the bread and the milk. Yes, all the bread and the milk. Okay, it's a down south thing. I kind of explain that to you guys later. But thanks for joining in on Winter Safety for Your Kids. Once again, who am I? Remember to share, like, and follow. And who am I? Your favorite pediatrician and Dr. Mom, Dr. Tamika Peds. You can follow me on Facebook, of course, and Instagram and Twitter. And I come to you to help moms like you and me to keep your kids happy and healthy all naturally. Remember to tune in every week. I give a Facebook Live video on child prevention and health tips as well. And stay tuned for exciting things coming your way from Dr. Tamika Peds. I hope you guys stay warm and enjoy the snow. All right? Be safe. Take care.